Hey, Rainmakers. This is David Brandon. I'm here with Elle Whitelegg of Praeduco. How are you doing, Elle?
I'm good, David. How are you?
Pretty good. Today, we're just going through a few questions about Elle, what she does, and how she's navigating these choppy marketing waters right now in the digital sphere. So let's just jump right into these questions here. Just, Elle, tell us a little bit about you and your business. What do you do?
What a question. We get wrapped up in that question, don't we? Like, what do you do? But right, so to answer, I am the founder of Praeduco, which is a holistic coaching company based in the UK. I help businesses and individuals achieve high performance, however they choose to define that. And I do that on a foundation of well-being.
Cool. That's a great mission, I think.
Thank
So
you.
you're one of our Rainmaker Platform clients. What do you primarily use that Rainmaker Platform website for? Is it selling, establishing authority?
So I use my Rainmaker platform primarily as a brand presence that serves to educate my clients, both current and future. And I use it as a space to really help them identify what sets my company apart. So you could say it's to establish authority. When someone's thinking about coaching specifically, it's as much about connecting with the coach as it is the outcome that they offer. So what I've found to be important and to have the aim of my site is that future clients get a sense of what the business is, the offer, and also like who they'll be working with. And through the tone of voice, the content available, it's a place for them to discover, what it is that they might get from the service and also like the kind of vibe that they can hope to expect from a coaching experience.
That's great. Yeah, we have a lot of coaching clients on the platform actually. So coaching,
Oh, cool.
consulting, yeah, there's quite a few. It tends to lend itself well to knowledge selling.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, with anything where you're setting yourself up to be vulnerable, I think there's a certain amount of reassurance that you want from the media that you're bringing in. It's a bit different from buying like a product that you're going to utilize. Because in some cases, your clients are going to bare their soul. So you've got to create connection. You've got to find a way of someone reading or absorbing that information in a way that's going to make them feel comfortable to go through that process.
and finding the right fit, right? With
Yeah,
coaching,
absolutely.
especially.
Yeah, you want to
Cool.
know who you're going to meet, what it's going to be like, and often it's not a requirement as a coach to have a specialist skill set that matches your client, but often clients find that reassuring. So if they can find some synergy, they're often going to be more likely to convert.
So that audience, how do you build that audience of coaching clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say like it's always a process, it's always changing. And my business is still fairly new. So I will caveat my response with that. But in terms of building an audience, I believe you do have to do really good work to begin with. And turning that into testimonials has been my primary focus, especially in the early stages. My old boss used to say that without great product, marketing is meaningless. And I try and live by that. So um, I use my digital systems to streamline the experience of getting to know my company and what I do. And then I'm constantly trying to add value. Um, my business is also face to face. It's about human connection. So the kind of businesses that want to build an audience within that space, I think you have to show up as a human as well. You've got to show up so that people can create connection with you and then use leverage your digital space to continue that conversation. And that's kind of the mindset that I approach. I use the blog function really extensively to write and share content. And then I take snippets of that and then build that into my social content so that it's just like a nice little loop that folks can go around and that they're reassured at every stage that they're kind of seeing the same thing. Folks have to see things a lot of times now before it gets into their psyche. So I'm constantly trying to iterate around those different environments.
Yeah.
And then I would say like the last thing that I've been focused on in terms of audience building is being a contributor on other platforms and then tying that back to my own. So whether it's like working with thought leadership areas, like other places that have their own audiences, being a third party advocate for my site, and then using that to drive traffic.
Yeah, that's great. That's really smart. Um, I was going to ask how you keep your current audience engaged, but I think you've mostly answered that, unless you have anything else you
Uh,
throw in there.
well, in terms of engaging with my audience, I think I'm really disciplined with my newsletter, and I find that varying the tone from brand to storytelling to adding value to selling makes folks feel like they're not in a sales funnel. I keep a really good eye on my unsubscribes and try and sort of see if there were any triggers that might have resulted in that. I do think unsubscribes are valuable because they teach you like, and that ultimately like they're less people that aren't interested, so they're good. Um, but I try and keep an eye on like what kind of metrics can give me a sense of what's going on. Things like open rate, linger time, and things like that. Um, and then in terms of engagement, I try and go one-to-one as much as possible. So if I have a piece of content I think is going to resonate, whether it's an article I've written on the site or a video that I'm then using to drive to the site, I'll send it one-to-one to people and be like, hey, like this just came out. Like I'm wondering if it sparks anything for you, or like if this resonates, like I'd really love to hear. Or if you think of anyone that this might resonate with, feel free to forward. And you'd be interested to see like what comes from that in terms of like DMs and emails and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is really about just building relationships, right? Like
Yeah.
I was talking with Ed about that the other day. How much of marketing really is, you can overcomplicate it, but a lot of it really is the same way that you would build a relationship with a friend or a partner. The constant contact, and
Yeah.
sharing things that matter, and all that. Uh,
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, and that's how I think about it too. Of like, how do I keep in touch with my friends? How do I keep in touch with people that I care about, and thinking of my customers and my clients and my future clients that way, and speaking them to them as if we already work together and I really care about them because I do. Um, and I think sometimes digital, that platform gets in the way of our we almost like convert to our digital selves sometimes when we're on a platform. And actually, I think it's about just being as human as we can be, and trying to make those connections.
that's really important.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially with AI and things like that, because people can sniff it out. And I think, when you do have a little typo here and there and you're a little silly, or you show your own vulnerability, perhaps if that works for you, then people resonate with that.
I think there's opportunity in humanity when the industry is moving towards automation and uh, kind of the flattening of creativity, right? Because AI,
Mm,
it it comes out a little flat, right? If you read the writing,
yeah,
you see stuff that's been made with it. It doesn't have the same soul that something made by a human has. I mean, at some
yeah,
point in the future, it may become indistinguishable. I'm not so certain of that, but I think that human spark, there's
yeah.
value, and there's a way to differentiate yourself there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, staying in the coaching space, like there's all sorts of AI tools coming out now that are trying to, I guess, like service that need that people are having, that they're trying to find something that's working for them, whether it's more resilience, better well-being, more purpose. And how do you how do you find that from something that is taking everything that's been done before and feeding it to you when we're all on our own journey? Like how how do you do that? And I think the power of coaching one-to-one is connecting with someone and helping them see their own dots. Because the only thing AI can do is take all the data that's out there and feed it back to you. Whereas true introspection is about making those maps for yourself and understanding like how you got there and having those moments of clarity yourself. And so I do wonder if that's the solution that will carry us the furthest.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I was a marketer for 10 years before I stepped into this space, as we talked about. But I've always felt like marketing is just it's a way of creating a connection and I was lucky enough to work with brands that were not rack 'em high selling cheap brands. These were brands that were experiential. And what I've seen work best is community and connection with whatever it is that you're trying to move people towards. That might be an event, that might be a product that you're trying to sell, a service that you're providing, but people want to feel something. And I think if you can connect those two and people land on your site and they have a great experience, it's seamless, like it's easy to navigate. They understand what they're seeing. If that's the last piece of the puzzle of a great journey, great. Um, but the website very rarely takes people from I've never considered you before ever to like, yes, I'm going to spend money with you. It's a piece of the puzzle and it's very integral to that process, especially if your audience is attuned to that. But marketing, I think, is about making someone feel something and then giving them the opportunity to take action.
what is it? I think Maya and I think it was Maya Angelou who said, people might forget what you say, but they will never forget how you make
Remember
them
how you made
feel.
them feel? Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that quote.
yeah. We that's one that we have in rotation actually in our socials because it's one of my favorites too.
It's true. And I think like I was saying before, we enter, especially for folks on Rainmaker, they might be doing it themselves, one man band kind of situation. And I get it, you sit down and you do your website. It's like a task on your sheet. And then you enter like your website copywriting self. And somehow that's very different from your regular self. Because I think you can sort of feel like this pressure to say it in a certain way. And I like to notice how I talk to people face to face and then just kind of try and express
Yeah,
that on the site. I find it lands better.
that's great. I've seen your site. It's a good site. We actually reviewed it the other day. So
Yeah, it was helpful. Yeah, and actually we made some changes that were really helpful and my conversion went up. So yeah, that was a good session.
cool. Yeah, it's always nice to hear. Uh, we do want to keep this kind of short and sweet, so I do have one
Sure.
final question for you. Your parting shot, your Parthian shot. Uh, if you have one piece of advice for someone in your industry trying to establish their digital presence, what would that be?
It's going to sound counterintuitive, but my piece of advice for someone trying to establish in the digital space is to think if social media and the internet was switched off tomorrow, it just didn't exist, who would you still be able to reach? And if you take that mindset into cultivating your digital environment, it creates a much longer runway. Um, and so with all these tools that we have in the digital space, my call to arms, my call to action for folks is to continue to drive personal connection, and let your digital environment be the validator, the additional tool, the other place that they go and explore, but that connection still comes from you.
Well, thanks for coming on, Elle. Appreciate your time, and we're excited to see what you do with your Rainmaker Platform site in the future.
Thank you. Me too. It's honestly it's so nice to feel like you're part of a bigger team that cares about your development. Especially as like a business owner. It's nice to feel like you have a squad behind you. So I
That's the
appreciate
goal. We appreciate that. But yeah,
it.
so this has been Elle Whitelegg with Praeduco. I'm David Brandon for Rainmaker Digital Services. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.